The fleet commander asked why humans don't fear war. The answer made the room go silent. The War Council chamber aboard the Nexus Prime hummed with tension as representatives from 12 species gathered around the holographic display. Fleet, Commander Zethkar, his forearms gesticulating with practiced authority, pointed to the red zones spreading across the galactic map, like a disease. The hegemony has taken 14 systems in 3 rotations, his translated voice echoed through the chamber. Their bioships consume everything, planets, stations, even asteroid fields. Nothing stops them. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembled delegates. The Karathi delegation clicked their mandibles nervously. The crystalline Vexani dimmed their luminescence in what their species considered respectful mourning for the lost worlds. Even the proud Thanari kept their usually vibrant crests low. Only one delegation remained unmoved. Ambassador Sarah Chen sat with her hands folded, her expression calm as she studied the tactical display. Beside her, General Marcus Webb leaned back in his chair with an almost casual air that seemed to irritate several other delegates. The hegemony's advance is unprecedented, continued Fleet Commander Zethkar, his golden eyes fixing on each delegate in turn. In our archives spanning 50,000 years of galactic history, no force has proven so relentless. They do not negotiate, they do not retreat, they consume. The Karathi delegate, Speaker Clicksmoth, gestured with trembling appendages. Our warrior caste, bred for millennia for combat, broke after witnessing a single bioship feeding. The psychological trauma, my people's neural networks cannot process the horror, interrupted the Vexani representative, their crystalline form flickering. We have shared the experience through our collective consciousness. Many have chosen the long sleep rather than endure the memories. Zethkar's attention turned to the human delegation. Which brings us to an anomaly. He paused, studying the 2 humans with something approaching bewilderment. Every species in this council has submitted casualty reports, psychological evaluations, requests for extended recovery periods. Every species has asked for reassignment away from the front lines. The chamber fell silent. Except humans. Zethkar's voice carried a note of genuine confusion. Your fleets request additional deployments. Your soldiers volunteer for the most dangerous missions. Your casualties return to duty with what your medical staff terms concerning enthusiasm. Ambassador Chen finally spoke, her voice steady. Is there a question in there, Fleet Commander? Yes. Zethkar leaned forward, his forearms spreading wide. The question that haunts every member of this council, that has consumed our strategic planning sessions, that defies every psychological model we possess. His golden eyes fixed on her with laser intensity. Why don't humans fear war? The silence stretched taut. Chen exchanged a look with General Webb, who gave her an almost imperceptible nod. You want the real answer? Chen asked quietly. Please, Zethkar said. Our psychologists, our strategists, our historians, none can explain it. We've studied your species' development. You've endured conflicts that would have driven any of our civilizations to extinction or permanent pacifism. Yet somehow, impossibly, you seem to thrive in warfare. Chen stood slowly, her hands still clasped behind her back. When she spoke, her voice carried across the chamber with crystalline clarity. We don't fear war, Fleet Commander, because we've already survived the worst thing that could ever happen to us. Which is? Zethkar asked. Ourselves. The chamber went utterly silent. Even the ambient hum of the ship's systems seemed to fade. Chen began walking around the holographic display, her eyes fixed on the spreading red zones. Every species in this room evolved on worlds with natural predators, environmental challenges, competing life forms. But those were external threats. Things you could run from, hide from, eventually overcome through technology or cooperation. Paused, letting her words sink in. Humans evolved differently. Our greatest predator, our most persistent enemy, our most creative and ruthless opponent, was other humans. For 200,000 years, the thing we feared most walked on 2 legs and thought with our own intelligence. General Webb's voice added weight to her words. We didn't just fight animals or weather or natural disasters. We fought mirror images of ourselves. Creatures exactly as smart as us, exactly as desperate, exactly as determined to survive. Do you understand what that means? Chen asked, turning to face the council. It means we spent millennia learning to think like our enemies because our enemies were us. We learned to predict exactly how we ourselves would respond to any situation because we were fighting ourselves. The Vexani delegates' form flickered rapidly, their species equivalent of deep thought processing. The psychological implications are staggering, Chen confirmed. We developed warfare as an art form because we had to. We created strategies to defeat enemies who knew all our strategies. We learned to function under stress that would break other species because our own survival demanded it. She gestured to the red zones on the display. The hegemony is terrifying because they're relentless, emotionless, perfectly coordinated. They represent everything your species never had to face in your evolutionary development. But to us? General Webb smiled grimly. They're just another enemy. And we've been fighting the most dangerous enemy in the galaxy, ourselves, since before we discovered fire. Ambassador Chen's final words fell into the silence like stones into still water. You ask why we don't fear war, Fleet Commander? The answer is simple. We are war. We've been at war with ourselves for so long that peace is what scares us. She returned to her seat, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper. The hegemony thinks they're the apex predator in this galaxy, but they've never faced a species that spent 200,000 years learning to be the perfect enemy against themselves. The silence that followed was profound. Absolute. 12 species sat motionless, processing an explanation that redefined everything they thought they knew about warfare, about fear, about the strange, resilient species that had somehow turned their greatest weakness into their greatest strength. Fleet. Commander Zethkar finally spoke, his voice barely audible. How do we fight beside creatures like that? Ambassador Chen's smile was neither cruel nor kind, simply matter of fact. Very carefully, Fleet Commander. Very carefully indeed.